Hello,
Hello,
Yanni.
hello. Hi.
How are you doing?
So good. I don't know if you can see it's getting dark, but I'm in the mountains. There are some pine trees, and I'm really enjoying the nature out here. So very at peace. How are you feeling?
I feel good. I feel good. I slept really well last night, and I don't know. I've been doing a lot of spiritual work lately that
Mhm.
has been kind of intense and just been giving me a lot more energy. So I just woke up today feeling just extremely energized and ready to take on the world.
Oh, very good. That also fits a bit the energy of the new moon we had yesterday. No, you're coming in with a lot of energy. Did you
Interesting.
set any intentions?
I,
Because
I
right
did.
now is a good time.
I actually did. I didn't even know there was a new moon last night, and I did like a
There you
little
go.
little personal ritual um, where I literally just I did like a lot of inner work, mainly working on abundance and um, building new habits, new positive
Mm.
habits, and also structuring my life in a much more organized way. That is my biggest struggle, honestly, is that I try to do everything, and I end up getting one thing done out of 20 things, and that's not. I don't like that. Um, but I have goals that I know I'm going to finish by the end of the month. I set the energy, I set the tone, and the willpower's there. Just gotta follow structure. I really do.
I don't know, with you, I feel like you have 80 things you want to get done and you get like at least 30 things done, not just one.
All right, I'm cutting myself a little, maybe 25.
Well,
Uh,
there you go. I don't know. Then, do you have any topic that you want to talk about today? Because if not, I prepared one.
I mean, you can't just open up with that, because now I know I want to know what it was that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
'Cause,
but if you have something, we can see how we can combine it. So,
it'll flow. It'll just
yeah,
it'll just come when it comes.
yeah. Because I feel like today I almost kind of want to interview you a little bit more because I think I don't know. I have the feeling you're somebody who can way better explain a bit the differences between the different bodies that we have. If I would try to explain it, it would be a bit messy. But I always, when I dive into more spiritual practices, I learned these four bodies that exist: the mental body, the physical body, I guess you can call it the spiritual, the energy body, and then also the emotional body. And I really loved when there was a session that I was listening to, and in the beginning, the person hosting the session said, okay, close your eyes. And maybe everybody who's listening in can do that. We can close our eyes and think overall about your life as a spectrum, but maybe also especially in the recent years, and where in these four bodies are you more present? Are you somebody who's very present in their mental body, in their thoughts, and what's going on in their mind, their knowledge? Are you somebody who's very present with their emotions or with their physical health, with their body, right? And kind of say, oh, maybe I'm 80% mental, and then the rest is a bit more smaller. But in order also to understand it, I would love to hear if you can explain a bit what are these four bodies? How would you put it in your own words? How do we distinguish them?
Um, so I'm guessing speaking about the mental body, the physical body, the energetic body, and then the
Emotional.
emotional body. I don't for one, like the emotional body, I tie it to the mental body. I a lot of people don't see it that way, but I do find thoughts to be kind of like emotions at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously it's like a degree of a thought, a thought with more weight that has more feeling. But every thought, in essence, is also a feeling. When you really start meditating deeper and deeper, you really get to just see at the root of all emotion is thought. So, I, I personally, I mean, I get why people separate the two because there is there is a, you could categorize it as different. I get it 100%, but me personally, I categorize them the same. So we'll keep it that way. The four bodies, emotional, I'll keep it that way just because I understand the distinction and why people make it. um so the physical body is obviously the your physical form, um which also comes with all of your organs, all of the bacteria in your body. There's billions of bacteria, billions of cells, just all your neurons, your bones, just all of the structure, physical structure that you inhabit. Um, and, you know, th- this has a mind of its own. The physical body has a mind of its own. Your stomach thinks, your legs, your organs. It has a mind of its own that, you know, it obviously doesn't think in thought like, "Hey, how you guys? How you doing, heart?" It doesn't talk like that, but it's definitely um, it it thinks in its own way, like an intuitive feeling. That gut feeling, for example, that's your body thinking. That's the way it thinks. Um, so it's a the physical the physical body is definitely one of the most important. Well, all of them are important to be grounded in, but it's so important to be grounded in it because it is what is your route to the planet, to where you are, to where you're standing, to what you're experiencing. And when you are disconnected from it, you're disconnected from the world, and not only are you disconnected from the world, but all these parts of your body that are all kind of synchronized and working together to keep this thing working. It's important to be in flow with it and to protect it, to nourish it, because
Mhm.
what you give it, it gives back. And if you give it garbage, it will pump out garbage, you know so yeah, that's the physical body. um and then you have the mental body. Well, not the well, technically a mental body. And also in the physical form, I'm gonna keep getting thoughts here and there. um there Any physical pain that you've experienced, um it it gets stored in those spots, throughout the physical form, and I'll get back to that in a moment when I get to energy body. But then we have the mental body, which it it comes with two bands. The concrete mind, the logic, labels, planning, and the abstract mind with patterns, symbols, and vision, where narratives form or dissolve. Like the mental body is kind of like where the vision, the it's like the architect of reality. The physical form is your experience of reality. The mental body is like the perception of reality, how you see it and how you even experience it. And and here all your thinking patterns form, all the ways that you perceive the world, what you think about yourself, how you think of other people. And this mental body is kind of like the map, creates the map of the world that you experience and how you navigate it. And for most of us, this mental body is actually, it's very kind of like, those clay sculptures that look very solid.
Mhm.
It's like a clay sculpture become very solid over time. That's what the mental body kind of looks like. Not really, but you know what I
Mhm.
mean. It's like a clay sculpture that's very solid because it's been formed by all these patterns, and it's this version of you that's been sculpted by all of your responses, the way you think about things, what you think is, what you think isn't, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about the world, your fears, your wants. It forms this clay pattern sculpture that's just, like this, like solid. And it it's it's a part of us. It's a body that is always supposed to be like clay, but like a form of clay that's like water, that's always like this, you know? In
Mhm.
essence, that's what the mental body is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be this rock solid thing, but this ever flowing, clay
Mm.
form that can, I can imagine anything possible. I can conceive of anything. Any information that comes, I'm not going to be triggered by it. I'm going to listen to it and make of it what I will. That's how
Mhm.
the mental body should be flowing. But because we've become so conditioned over time, we're like this. And it's like a lot of our reactions are predetermined by the mental body
Mm.
because of the way we think. So, I mean, no, this sounds, how you say this? Most people don't have free will. And free will, there's a long debate about even if the whether or not there's free will in the first place. But,
Mm.
but if you're living within your conditioning and your programming, it's very unlikely that you have any free will at all because all of your
Mm.
actions are predetermined by your behavioral patterns. You're not really, you're not someone who's thinking consciously of the decisions. And if you are thinking consciously, it's based on how you were going to think in the first place. And
Oh.
so so yeah, the mental body is, like I said, the map of reality, right? So just keep going. Physical body is the mover in reality, the form in reality. The mental body is the map of reality. And then we have the emotional body, which I still consider to be the mental, but
Mhm.
to make the distinction, the emotional body is the feeling part of reality. It's how how you experience reality, like how things make you feel, how you react, whether it's negative, positive, positive, negative. It's that part of reality of whether you retreat or you move forward. If you surrender, if you um just I don't want to say dominate, but you step in.
Mhm.
It's your reactionary part of you that reacts to the world automatically, and it's kind of like the weights, the force from which your energy moves this way or that way. And much of that energy that you know because that's the thing, emotion is energy emotion. That's what emotion
Mhm.
is. And when you're feeling sad, what you're getting is like your energy flowing and moving in a very sad, just very, very, very low state, right?
Mm.
And when you're happy, don't make that face. And, and then when you're happy, your energy flows in the motion of happiness,
Yeah,
of
I just
joy.
felt that.
Yeah, and it's one second. That noise is so annoying to me. I don't know how. I've been living here my whole life, and I still haven't got used to fire trucks and police cars. It's weird. But anyways, oh, that's an emotional reaction. All right.
There you go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. For the sake of
Just
demonstration.
take a demonstration. That's an emotional reaction that I'm getting to the police cars, and I've been getting it my entire life, and I still get it. And then that's the emotional body. It's all these reactions stacked upon each other that form the way that we feel about the world and the way that we experience the world, and how our energy moves or retreats from the world.
Mm.
And many of us, for example, we have traumas. We had an experience in the past that it's a stored memory in the body, in the energy body. And it's interestingly enough, the emotional body, what like people call it, it's stored in certain spots. So that's why there's a lot of different therapies, and modalities such as acupuncture or Reiki and just all these kind of things. That they're working on clearing these stored emotions in parts of the body. Interestingly enough, I
Mm.
was just kind of talking about this. I'm not going to
Oh.
point out because I was doing a call. I do those calls with people, helping them out and whatnot. And he had a bad experience a long time ago with a certain substance, and part of that experience was happened in a certain room, right, in a certain bathroom in his house, and that ever since then he went to the bathroom again, and he got it triggered the same feeling, the same experience in that bathroom. So he hasn't been there 5 years. Um, yeah, yeah, it's that strong of an imprint that left on him, and that imprint is basically the memory of that emotion is stored and held in some part of his body that it hasn't been resolved yet. And I was telling him what I tell everybody regards to this is that one way or another you have to resolve that emotion by integrating, by basically that emotion, that memory is always going to be a part of you because it's literally a memory. You experienced it, it happened to you. You
Mm,
have to literally sit with it. And when the feeling of discomfort comes, the feeling of aversion comes, you have to be like, I surrender to it. I accept that this is what happened to me. It is what it is. Like rest into it. It's such a hard thing to explain because and sometimes I forget. Sometimes there's something I don't like that's really bothering me, and I can't seem to rub it off. But the moment I'm like you see the anxiety, feeling the moment I do this into it, and it yes, it doesn't feel great, but the more ungreat it feels, the more I'm like, it
mm,
that's the release. That's legitimately the release because when you're doing that, you're not resisting anymore. It's your resistance to the energy, to the emotion that creates force, that creates power, that expands it in a way where now this memory that's sitting in a place is kind of becoming like an energetic tumor. All right. Um, and that's a very how you say it. It's a it's dramatic way of calling that, but but you get it because I think
I
it's
know
just
it gives a picture, you know.
it doesn't go away. No matter how much you avoid it, no matter like for example, you don't go to that bathroom anymore. Fine, you're not gonna do that. It's gonna come back. It's gonna manifest again.
Mm,
The world, it's a part of your world because whatever is within is a part of your outside world too. It's going to manifest in some way or another. Um, so that's the emotional body. It's the the map of feeling in the world.
mm,
Then we have the energy body, which is basically because I feel we've been talking about it the whole time. All right, it is all of the things that we've been talking about, but
yeah.
in the more transparent, energetic form. Because the thing is that the form of everything that we're experiencing now, um, I don't want to call it an illusion, although it kind of is, but
It
it's
kind of
kind
is.
of it's a formulation of what reality is to the human mind, right? It's this is something kind of made up like in the all the noise of all the universe around us. This is what our mind kind of contracted to create like a visual and experience of reality. And um in essence all form is energy, everything is energy. And
Mm,
the third dimension that we're in, where humans reside in, it's you know it's particles vibrating at a very very slow rate. It's very slow, and that's why everything has so much force, and everything is so solid. It's because we're vibrating very slowly here. It's dense, the dense level of matter. But when you put the microscope within, and you kind of expand, it's really just vibrating energy. Everything is just vibrating energy. And then the thing about our minds, the part of us, we're not these bodies. Some people think that we're just something the brain created, and we think that we're whatever we, even though we call this my hand, my chest, we don't say like I'm these things. You feel like you possess these things. So in essence, we are possessing these bodies. We're inhabiting these bodies. We're consciousness inhabiting form. At least that's what I believe. And uh, our energy bodies is this part of us, that the consciousness, the awareness that inhabits the
Mm.
body, that kind of creates the tangible connection between form and awareness. It's like the in between of form and awareness. Do you get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So this energy body that is like the reflection, the energetic reflection of the body, the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body. It's our inner resonance that creates all form. And so all the physical memories are stored in the energy body. It's there, and it's kind of like software. You know how physical body is like hardware,
Mhm.
the energy body is the software. It's all of the thoughts that you've ever had, all the emotions you've ever had. It's the the history of your physical body, history of your pancreas growing, and maybe uh, growing a tumor, like an actual tumor,
Mhm.
this, at that time. But that's all stored in the energy body. It's the software. And um, the more you raise your consciousness, by raising consciousness, I mean by expanding your awareness and dissolving your attachment to the physical, as in like your, how you say it? By attachment, I mean like your, the feeling that you are this physical form, that the physical is
Mhm.
all that you are, the people that you love, that being all that matters. And like detaching to me means just the inner realization that I am more than this, and that this is just a temporary form, and there is so much more to me, and kind of like dissolving more of this attachment to the physical, to a point where your awareness starts to go through the walls, right?
Mhm.
Expand throughout the walls, and then start to realize that there are no walls, that these hands are only that I feel are only a part of my awareness, and my awareness expands much deeper than that. And
Mhm.
I feel myself as energy. Like, you can actually, your awareness can reach a point where you feel yourself more as energy, inhabiting this body. And as you go deeper into awareness, you feel like, wait, no, no, there's something else here. The world is my body. That's the coolest part. That's the weird.
Ooh.
It's really cool, but it's also a little uncomfortable and I don't want to say claustrophobic's the wrong word,
Mhm.
but I, you're so full of everything, because your
Mhm.
energy is a part of all the energy that's ever existed. It's not separate from all the energy that exists. And so that's what happens with awareness. The deeper you go, the more you break through a wall that's separating you from just the rest of energy that's out there. Because
Mhm.
which I understand why we have those walls in place. They create structure. If everybody was just everything all the time, there wouldn't be any structure, because what could you it's just, you know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah, what I loved when I lived in Bali is I met really so many kinds of people. And one thing that I noticed is and that is something when we are born, when we go to school, I feel like society used to push mental development very strongly. Like when you go to school, when you educate yourself, when you really build on that, gathering more knowledge, developing your brain. I feel like in school they push that. I think in the US, of course, also a bit the physical part, like a lot of physical sports activities are being offered. But in Bali, I noticed when you meet people who are very much in the mental space, highly intelligent, like really skillful in let's say, areas of their life, entrepreneurship, thinking, business, like very bright minds. Their emotional body was often underdeveloped. I had a feeling when I had conversations and interactions on a bit deeper level that almost deep feelings were shut down. They were not connected to their heart as much as they were connected to their brain. And I think the heart center is a very important center to develop. And the same with spiritual people that I met in Bali. I met people who dove very deep into the occult, into different spiritual practices. They learned a lot. They were really giving off that vibe of gurus. But again, the emotional body was underdeveloped. There was not this expression from the heart. So they had the wisdom, the mental intelligence, they had the spiritual practices set in place, they were teaching, but the expression wasn't balanced because the emotion was missing.
And
And
I
yeah,
was gonna ask you just very quick, how did you realize that? Like, what about them gave off that they were missing that?
because I feel like they could always answer in knowledge, and they could also kind of do practices, right? They could do energy work, they could be Reiki masters and do that. But where I felt there was a lack is that they didn't have this deeper awareness of their own emotions. They were easily triggered, easily reactive in an emotional sense sometimes. And that for me
Mm.
was a big contrast to embodying a yogi, but then you're triggered and you feel like life is toxic. But that means you haven't looked at your own emotional wounds. You have shut down a part of your heart and built some walls, right? And you can feel emotionally when somebody is more shut down. And that also for me on my own healing journey, I realized in Germany, I was very much led on this path of developing my mental body, and everybody was pushing, okay, climb the career ladder, learn more, express more, be intelligent, right? Physical aspects were also promoted. You should be healthy, you should be strong, take some supplements. And maybe as a woman, I was a bit more in touch with my feelings, but it's very rare that you really dive deeper. So also I noticed in the last decade there were a lot of triggers that I haven't attended yet. And there's so much development you can still do in that emotional realm. But I also absolutely agree what you say. Our thoughts are so interlaced with emotions because when you have a very negative mindset, a very critical mindset, of course, that's going to make you feel more diminishing yourself, more doubting, more worrying, right? So the emotions come with the thoughts. But the reason why I like the model of the four bodies and having the emotional body separate is just if we want to look and where's maybe some imbalance, it's worth also exploring the emotional side. And I feel like the way that I would or how I did address this and how I'm even currently doing that is really allowing myself to feel deeply, even the unwanted feelings. And I noticed that in situations that used to trigger me, that maybe now I can react or be more calm. I can be calm and more centered. And then when I speak and express myself, it feels more like inner wisdom is coming through than just something I learned by heart, just knowledge. And that is also something I feel like when we feel stuck, when we're going through crisis, we have these four bodies that we can work with because you can do something physically, like you mentioned, you could do breath work, emotional release, tapping, you can do yoga, qigong, like so many things where you also work with the body, the breath, and the emotions can be released, and that will impact your life. It will make a change. You can work on your mind. You can change your mindset, which isn't that easy because, as you said, often we are victim a bit of our own mind, right? Everything is automized. So digging into that, we can work on our emotions and senses, how we connect to our heart. And spiritually, there are also so many beautiful practices, like maybe even learning to shut down the brain and learn to meditate and use it as a tool to find stillness. What is something that you like to do when you feel stuck or when you feel like you're going through very challenging times? Do you have an area where you focus on more to move things, to create movement?
Well, first I wanted like I do agree with what you said. It's really good to kind of like have those four bodies in mind because not every problem is going to be a mental one or a physical one or an emotional one. and different problems require different solutions. So I agree that the model is a pretty good one to have in mind. As for what do I do? Well, the thing is that kind of like I tried to combine everything into one thing with my vital force routine, where I first start by doing pranayama, and well, right before the pranayama, I do a little bit of meditation, like set an intention. So it's mental,
Mhm.
kind of like this is what I'm trying to set myself towards, and then I start. I do my pranayama, and I keep the intention in mind. That's the thing. That's a part of the trick, is that something I've managed to learn how to do, and it's taken me a long time, but a lot of practice. But focus on one thing for a long, like just hold a thought for a long period of time. So I'll hold whatever
Mhm.
thought, and I'll do my whole Tibetan rites yoga right after the pranayama. So I built energy. Which okay, so let me just start again.
Yeah.
So I set my intention, working the mind, the mental body. Then I start doing pranayama, working the physical body and the energy body at the same time, because pranayama
Mhm.
draws in energy. And then I do Tibetan rites yoga, still holding the thought, by the way. And I that works the energy body and the physical body. It works the energy body because technically the Tibetan rites is like physical exercises that stimulate and activate and clear all five chakras. Well, they get five, seven chakras. um, so, and also the way you do that, because some people might not know, but it depends on the practice. But you have to also maintain your awareness on like the part of the body, like just
Mhm.
like breathe into like the stomach if you're doing the stomach one, breathe into the chest if you're doing the chest one. But you see how it works the entire, you know, energy system.
Oh, yeah.
Then right after that, I do horse dance, and then do the star exercise in front of the window to the sun, and I do that for about a minute 30 seconds. Try to do 2 rounds, where this is spiritual. This is the energy body again, drawing in energy, but this is also the physical, grounding me to the earth,
Mhm.
and um, it also, yeah, it just, this is also, I'm while I'm doing what I'm doing, I'm also holding the intention for a long time as well. And then after that, I'm done. Only thing I'd say, while going through all this, I don't think that there's an emotional part. So I think I could add something emotional, probably like in the end, gratitude. Um,
Mhm.
wait, no, I often like try to hold the feeling of love towards my intention.
Mhm.
I'm always
Oh, there
holding.
you go.
I hold the feeling of love towards my intention. So yeah, I
Mhm.
work all. My goal with my practice that I do is to work everything at once, um, and it just it clears up everything, but it also invigorates me. It empowers me, and it
Mhm.
sounds like a lot, but the thing with things that sound like they're a lot, when you do them enough, they don't. It's like nothing. It's like literally riding a bike, and it's improved my life dramatically, and it makes me able to do everything I do because I do a lot, even though I don't finish everything on time. But I still do it, and I don't know how to give up, and I also owe it to that ability to just have this practice that just every
Mhm.
on a daily basis, it clears me up, invigorates me, and makes me ready to do anything. um but I wouldn't do that though, like if I was feeling some negative emotion, um just because that's just, it doesn't work that way. I can't, I'm on the train station and somebody pisses me off. I'm not going to be like, all right.
One moment. Let's do. Yeah.
Moments like that, I just start breathing really deep, and I start resting into the negative emotion and kind of allowing myself to feel what I'm feeling. But then, like,
Mm.
I kind of like ask myself questions like, what would what would the Buddha do right now? What would Jesus do right now? What
Yeah.
would what would my the highest version of myself, the best version of myself, do right now? Because that helps get me in a mindset of, remember, I'm trying to be a good example, of, of humans. I want to be a good
Mhm.
example not only for others but also for myself, because I always want to strive to be better and do better. So if
Mm.
life challenges me, it's an opportunity for me to do the right thing and to grow in that moment. So, you know, this is the weird thing though. I'm really good at doing everything I'm saying here in the outside world with strangers, situations. Very, 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 very good at keeping composure, being the mature one, being the one that's bound. I am really good at that. But at home and with family, people I love and care for, I have a weakness there. I
Mm.
definitely get triggered. I get mad. And that part sucks because in my mind, I'm like, I don't like that I'm a saint to the world, but why am I not a saint at home? You know?
That's the journey, no? Isn't that I really think, look, we're still very young. I feel like we're still on the journey of finding out what are our triggers and what are they linked to. But what I see from you is like a huge mental conscious expansion because you can already shift your focus. You can lead your focus on other things. You can ask questions. A lot of people, they would just get triggered, get outbursts, and would react in a certain way. But you are already consciously watching yourself. You are aware. And I always think it's true what they say. It starts with becoming aware, and then you're walking the journey. Then you can slowly,
Yes.
yeah,
Awareness
shed light
is a
on it.
seed. It's a seed. Without it, you're not gonna get anything done. You know?
Yeah.
It's and it sounds like the boring part, like, oh, I gotta ask myself these questions and answering them, but you're not. That's like you building the map to to clarity, the map to
Mm.
healing, because without it, you're just gonna walk around aimlessly and not know, what you're doing and how to actually help yourself. So yeah, awareness is so important. And I think beginning to ask yourself questions before you do something. So I honestly, the maxim of think before you speak, it's so important. So
Mm.
important. So many people would avoid so many problems that they could. But the thing is, it sounds easy. Oh, just think before you speak, but we're ruled that those emotions. Remember, it said energy, emotion. It's a heavy impulse. It's a heavy just feeling that just drags you into um, action and to just say
Mm.
what is on your mind. Sometimes with your partner, there's something that you probably shouldn't say in that moment, but you're like, you know what? No, I feel this right now. I'm gonna say it right now, and it just creates a host of problems. And
Yeah.
it's we're human. It's part of being human. And I have seen that that's definitely I think personally.
Mhm.
mm, no, I was gonna say the energy body is the hardest. I was gonna say the emotional body. I would say the emotional body is the hardest to master, but that's not true. The energy body is
Um,
is the hardest because we're conditioned in this world to be human, to identify as human, and to identify as everything being physical. Like we're born into that. So kind of like dissolving that perception is extremely difficult. Um,
mhm.
but the emotional body, the thing is, most people don't care about that. Most people don't want to do that. So it doesn't even matter.
Exactly.
Most people
Yeah, so the
don't want to do it.
maturity isn't there. I feel like we're not as mature in our emotions as we are maybe on a mental level. And then what we learn throughout the years is rather suppress emotions. And then it comes to this more outbursts of emotions and the sudden triggers and not even understanding where the emotions come from. And then we tie everything to our current situation, to our current relationship, but it's way from the past and we're not
Yep.
aware. So I think it's a level of maturity to allow yourself to develop a matureness, and then you can actually come with a calmness in, and you feel more self-centered and not easily tipped off balance. But we're not being taught, like in school, we're more taught in suppressing emotions. Like,
We
don't
are.
show that anger, don't show sadness,
Don't talk back.
don't be a pussy. Like, sorry, but these kind of things, right?
No, we're taught the worst shit ever. When it comes to emotions, and I'm new to emotions, as in like I only literally got more emotional after my first run of the energy awakening course, and I was so emotionally immature during that time period. And you know it really is it. I don't want to say a lifetime of learning, but
Mm-hmm.
it's really kind of tough to learn how to deal with this side of you, because it's not rational. It's just, this is what I feel, this is what's going to come up. And if out of nowhere I feel like I weigh 500 pounds, right? And you know, the rational mind, we usually sit in our rational mind mostly, um, and it doesn't know how to
Mm-hmm.
deal with that. We're like, I don't want to feel this. This is stupid. I don't want to feel this right now. That's how we start having that inner battle, and then we just end up spiraling out of control. And then what I really wanted to talk about just now is impulse. You know,
Mm-hmm.
how emotions really do take over, and we end up saying and feeling things that we don't want to feel. And I get this question a lot. Like, how do I deal with that? I don't know what to do when that happens. You can tell me all you want, and you need to accept it and rest into it, but I can't do it. It's too heavy. It's too difficult. And I empathize with that, because it is not easy. The only reason why I can do it is because I've been meditating for a very long time. So I often feel like the impulse before the emotion. Like this, it's like if you meditate a lot, there's a feeling that's starting to come up, and you see the thought, and if you catch it right away, you can. It's like, yeah,
Regulate. Mm.
regulate, but we don't catch it every day. We're not. Most of us are not conscious like that. Um, so it just comes up, and boom, you just, I don't know, where you're angry and you're yelling at your boyfriend, at the grocery store, and it's you know it, it's the kind of thing that the only real, honestly, that the answer that I would have for these people, and it's because not every moment is going to allow you to hold on a second.
No.
No, not every moment is going to allow you to do that. So I tell people that the only way that you're going to begin to find that balance is by practicing mindfulness on a
Yeah.
daily basis. Because without that awareness, these thoughts are just going to pop up in a way that you don't even notice them. And the feelings behind those thoughts are going to bum rush you. And
Mm.
you will, yeah, you have to practice mindfulness, because it is only through that you notice just the array of patterns that you have that are running, and over time disentangle them. You know what I mean? Because they're all like
Yes.
entangled. They're all like entangled, and
Mm.
awareness disentangles.
Yeah, and also I feel mindfulness empowers you to step out of the victim kind of energy where you always say, "Oh, everything is happening to me," and this person is mean to me. This is so, life is so unfair. And there are so many things that trigger, and then it's that fault of that situation. It's never you. But the more mindful you become, the more aware you become of what are the sources and the root causes of your emotional reactions. I feel like maybe in the moment it's very hard to catch that impulse, but the more you actually dive deep and you get to know yourself and your triggers and your wounds, and you start to bring awareness and to dissolve those, the less you will have discontinuous experiences with impulses and emotional reactions, and the more you actually learn to be more, honestly, more balanced.
Mm, I
Yeah.
agree. I just had an idea while you were saying that, because one of the things I always try to find is like shortcuts. Because You know, the path is hard. It's getting harder for some reason.
Mm.
You know, no reason why the difficulty should be dialed up right now, but it is. And you know, something I've never fully believed in, but recently I'm starting to kind of like, you know what? There is measure to that. But affirmations, only because I'm like, you have to repeat
Yeah.
something 50,000 times for it to like literally imprint. I'm not doing that. That's how I used to think. But then, you know, I've cleared up my mind so much in the sense of like I've opened it up to a point where, you know, I have malleability. I do have malleability. As in I know I can decide I am love. I feel love. And
Mm.
I'll feel love. Like I'll be able to bring that up in me. Um so, you know, and realize I'm like, okay, words are, you know, they activate. So something about language that's really important. Um, Language maps reality for humans in the collective consciousness of humans. You know, language is, you know, kind of like the colors to the map. You know, it literally is how we, you know, understand the world and categorize it and separate everything.
Mm.
And so words kind of like create reality. You don't understand what I'm saying? Just that it
Yes.
100% do. You know, and the only reason why it doesn't seem that way day to day basis is because our brains um, filter out the language and the words that don't fit in with our narrative of the world. But the words that do fit our narrative, for example, a little dark example, but like, you know, when there's someone in a certain side, whether the right or left, and they have propaganda fed to them on social media telling them what they want to hear, that is creating their reality. That is genuinely
Mhm.
just making them feel what the people that wrote those words, said those words, want them to feel and think the way they want them to think. And this is a story as old as time. You know, words create reality. And that's why, you know, part of the powers that be, their um, just their way of power is controlling information. You know,
Mm.
so I'm like, okay, I've gotten to a place where I've become more malleable enough where I can be like, for example, my favorite mantra, I want everything I have everything I want. Because it's just pure abundance. You know, I want the things I have, so I have everything I want. And all that does is create
Mm.
more abundance because have, want what I have, and then I attract more. Um, and so I just repeat that to myself sometimes. And then I just got an idea of doing something like that, but in a way where it's a video where you go along to a mantra or affirmation, but
Mhm.
while doing something like a physical thing, like either tapping like right here or something like that.
Mhm.
So while you're listening and saying this thing over and over again, you're creating an anchor. So
Mm.
in a moment like you get upset, you know, it's not going to be that weird for you to do this, you know, unless
Yeah.
you're like, which you're not going to do that.
No, no, you can do that very hidden.
You're very hidden, and then that's going to kind of like activate. But it depends on the state. Like for example, I am peace. Another one, I am peace. I am peace, and kind of creating these activation points, that these
Mm.
anchors that you could use at any time. Because I think that finding your anchor to peace that you can have at any moment, I feel like that's a very, very useful tool to have
Yeah.
in life. Because the majority of the time that we need that peace that we look for or that balance, it's always in situations that are just spontaneous and come out of nowhere, and you're like, oh my god, I can't sit and meditate right now. I can't, like, it life is way more you know, in your face and different.
Dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I also noticed for me a big difference when I reacted to something in a way that I didn't feel good about. I often afterwards pondered over and over how I should have reacted better, or I felt shame. And this very negative aftertaste, and then I also, yeah, I just didn't like it, and I rejected it basically. And then now I'm like, I'm more able to be like, okay, we're all humans. There are situations where we react in ways that afterwards, when we had time to think about it, we would have done it differently. But instead of pondering that moment over and over again, I really go a bit more to the source. Okay, what led me to react in a not good way, and how would I want to shift it in the future, and rather really creating this learning, because sometimes I suppressed things, I rejected them, and I really just tried to forget about what I was embarrassed about, and then it didn't exactly make it better the next time. Because things never show up exactly in the same situation, they always have a little bit of a different flavor. But when I understood better what led me to that reaction, and not shaming myself for it, but actually embracing it and being like, okay, I kind of own it. That's it. And then move forward. And how can you do it better in the future? Because that's good for you and it's good for the other people in the long
I
run.
agree, 100%. That's really great. Um,
Mm.
and have you been able to do this more, like on the spot? Recently.
Yeah, so much. I'm actually at a point where I'm rather trying to allow myself more having some emotional reactions. I think I'm still a very like regulated person who also pushes still things in the situation down. So it's rare that people see me angry. It's so rare that you see me out of control. But that doesn't mean that I'm centered. I think it means that I'm also in situations still suppressing reactions. And so I think my journey right now is more allowing emotions, like still developing that emotional maturity. But that doesn't mean that it has to be an outburst. That still means you can react with calmness, but still feeling the deeper feelings. So I feel like I'm more on that journey to allow myself to feel deeply and not rejecting negative feelings, because that's my mind giving it a name and being like, oh, this emotion is negative and that one is positive. It's all emotions, it's all part of us, and,
Mm,
and allowing to move through them.
that's so true.
No.
And that's the hardest part. One of the hardest parts of being a human is that the 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 true goal is to find the center. Not too much emotion, not too little. Not too
Mm.
much logic, not too little.
Mm.
And I that it's such a hassle. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's like you're asking a lot out of us to find that center. And the thing that I always find funny, just walking into, you know, all the advice of the world and people just
Mm.
how they go about things. They're always going either way too much in one direction or the other, or teaching people to do that. I know there are people teaching people to find that center, but I
Mm.
feel like that needs to be so much more, you know, like just pronounced, because it's in that center that you allow yourself to be in your emotions and in your rationality without
Mm.
suppressing one or the other. Where you allow yourself to be in your masculine and your feminine without suppressing one or the other. Where you allow yourself to be positive, but also allow for that negativity without suppressing one or the other. It's one of the hardest parts about being a
It
human.
is. Yeah. But it I think what can give you a bit of a direction is to look, is there something you notice where you feel very out of balance? And I feel like, for example, in the physical body, when I notice I have a lot of maybe stomach problems, then I know there are emotions that I'm not fully digesting. And I want to look at what made me feel. The same with headaches. Sometimes I feel like I get headaches or tension in my jaw when there is some, maybe some anger or frustrations that I've been swallowing down, and it creates tension. So looking at that. And I also notice, because I'm still quite in my mental space a lot, I have trouble meditating. And when I talked to you the very first time, I think I confessed and I was like, I don't think I can meditate yet. And I loved how you told me, look, it's not about immediately being able to have stillness in your mind and not thinking anything. And you told me, count your thoughts, become aware of those thoughts, right? Like, and just become aware of those numbers. And you gave me these different ways of approaching it. And that's where I also noticed an imbalance. There was always mental chatter, overwhelmingly a lot. And through meditating more, and Bali was an amazing place where you can really create time and space for that, I noticed that this mental clutter is a lot less. And so I want to invite everybody listening, where do you notice a stronger imbalance that is impacting your life? And then look how, because all these bodies tie together, right? Like, how can you bring balance through your emotions, through spiritual practices of tuning deeper in to listen to your voice, listen to your intuition, right? Connect to something higher. And really, I think what changed my life is I told myself, I commit to myself and this journey, and I want to do something good, and I want to commit to embracing God, embracing, the journey of finding the connection. And it changed things. It wasn't just for myself, it was also becoming a quest and committing to that quest almost. How's that for you?
Hmm. It's a loaded question. Well, for one, like just to reiterate what I told you about meditating for the people back home listening. Uh, Basically, one of the reasons a lot of people think they can't meditate is because they try and they can't silence their mind. And I said that that doesn't matter. Like silencing your mind is a result of you practicing meditation for a very long time. Um, the only goal in the beginning is for you to notice yourself thinking. Like literally
Mm,
just pay attention to your thoughts. You're gonna come up, and every time you notice a thought, go back to the present. Just take a conscious breath in and go back to being in the present. And what's gonna happen is right after that, you're gonna feel like an anxiety building up, like just a discomfort. Like I'm not liking this too much, and then eventually another thought's gonna come up, and then you just notice it again. Return to the breath.
mm,
That's meditation. You're meditating because you're literally in that moment. You're noticing yourself thinking. You're building space between awareness and thought because we walk through life without any separation between awareness and thought. Thought is awareness. You know, that's the ego. Ego is your
mm,
thought being your awareness. And it's a bit of a trap because you're just trapped in the loop of your thoughts and you don't really have self control or free will, like I've said. So, noticing yourself thinking is basically just you sitting and just paying attention to your thoughts, paying attention to the fact
mm,
that you're thinking at all. That's why I say counting, because at least you have an endpoint. Be like, oh, I'm gonna count 20 thoughts and return to the present every single time. When you do this on a daily basis, over time, what's going to happen is you're creating a pattern in your mind. You're conditioning your mind to notice yourself thinking and build that bridge between awareness and thought. So naturally over time, you can just sit and actually just watch, just be present in a way
mm,
that's very relaxing, in a way that dissolves, that that loop of thought and then brings peace. It's don't worry about the don't worry about peace and being. I know people try to meditate to find peace. That's beautiful and you'll get there.
mm,
But in the beginning, meditation is really about just noticing yourself thinking so you can build awareness. It's a process, but I think it's one of the most important processes you could ever go through in your life. I think meditation is a mandatory thing because it's either
mm,
meditate or be run by your mind. Just have little to no free will and just kind of just go through the motions in a way where you'll keep falling into the same loops over and over and over and over again. So um so yeah, I think that's something I wanted to say about that. Um and then I had other thoughts that I just completely forgot.
yeah.
What was the very last thing you said, Yanni?
Oh gosh, now I was also so focused what you said. I think I said that what changed for
Sorry.
me was a bit this commitment, like to the journey, to seeking also something higher, and this inner curiosity about life, and then walking forward, exploring.
Well, that's beautiful. I very much agree with that because that's just really what keeps you alive and keeps you going, keeps you just laughing, keeps you smiling, keeps life interesting. 'Cause a lot of people have kind of like lost that curiosity, lost
Mm,
that willingness to see what they're capable of and what they can
mm,
accomplish, what they can create, what they can see, and have fallen very complacent to the just their routines, which honestly it that drains the life out of you. It drains the curiosity. Falling into those routines, it just drains the wonder that there is to life. Yes, I agree 100%. This world is tough. There are days where I am like,
mm.
it sucks. All of this sucks. I wish I was born in Mars as a rock than rather than rather than be a human right now. You know, these days have been tough, 100%. But
Mm,
you can't allow that to suppress your will to exist and be yourself because you're only going to be this self that you are like once. All right. You'll be other selves perhaps, or if you believe that you just die and it's over, fine. Whatever you believe doesn't matter. You're here right now. You are you right now. And
mm,
even if you're in your lowest, even if you have little to nothing, you can still make the most of what you have, most of what you know, and most of what you can do, like at this very moment. And you should move forward towards that. You should
mm,
give it your all because like why else exist, why else exist if you're not going to give this life your all? At the end of the day, if you're here, for example, in Arcova, it's because you gain access to all these spiritual tools that you found online and a whole bunch of knowledge that most honestly I think is a treasure trove, whether it's from Sapien or the Enlightened States websites, Patreon, or just the things that you've come across that led you here. You know a lot and you've done a lot to get to where you are right now. And I
mm,
know for a fact that you have the capacity in you to dissolve everything that's in your way and realize your fullest potential. You can't give me an excuse as to why you can't do that. Your ego will find that excuse and tell you right away, but that's not you. It's not you. You're the awareness behind those thoughts. And in that awareness lies infinite potential. So
mm,
just keep moving forward with that understanding, with that belief. And there isn't anything you can't do. And if you fall, always perceive that fall as a part of winning because it is a part of winning. Every fall is a stepping stone if you keep walking. It's only a fall if if you don't get up and keep moving forward. All right, I don't know
I
why.
love that. No, that was amazing. That was such a beautiful closing message. I don't even want to mess with that.
That came out of nowhere, man.
Yeah, that
That's
felt channeled. You were speaking from your heart. I could feel it.
that's what I mean. I'm gonna be honest. That's what I do. I haven't read a book in years, um, which is not a good thing. Um, but yeah, I've noticed this at this point for a long time that if there's an ability that I have, it's just that I just my heart just stored a lot of really great stuff that I just
Mm,
say um, without even trying, and I think it's really fun to have that happen.
mm,
Because I did now I remember I did have something I wanted to say earlier that was just a very random thought, but it made a lot of sense and also answered a question I had. So
mm,
recently had a negative interaction at a store. It wasn't really negative, but I don't know. It just left a negative imprint on me. It was at Dunkin' Donuts, and I ate right after having this negative interaction. Um, and I was allowing myself to feel the emotion that came from the negative interaction. I was like, okay, whatever. happens. It's okay. It's not a bad thing. But I don't. I started feeling insecure and just other negative kinds of feelings from it. I'm like, what is this? I'm
Mm.
allowing myself to feel this, and I kind of felt it throughout the day. Um, it kind of went away eventually at nighttime, and then the next day it was completely gone. Um, but I realized, just I don't know why during our conversation, I I kind of went back to that, and I realized, oh, so for one, when you eat low vibrational food,
Ah.
your emotions latch onto them. If you're having negative emotions, it kind of like becomes a part of whatever you're digesting, and that
Mhm.
kind of stuff typically takes long to digest. So it doesn't matter if you allow yourself to feel it or whatever. It's kind of like stuck a little bit, not stuck, but just like kind of like a part of the lower vibrational stuff that you just ate, and especially processed food, which I was in Dunkin' Donuts, very processed. And so that emotion stuck with me the whole day until
Mm.
eventually I went to the bathroom and I went to sleep. And I also sleep. That's the thing. I hadn't slept the night before. I slept at 3 in the morning and I woke up at um, 7. So I hadn't slept either.
Mhm.
So it wasn't until I digested and also slept that the feeling went away completely. And
Mm.
that's just something to keep in mind because that was a moment where like my trick didn't work and I was confused as to why. And that's why. Eating meat, for example, just which I've been eating meat for a little while, um, and it definitely makes processing emotions take a little longer,
Mm.
and sometimes a little rougher. Like I've noticed when I'm vegetarian, I am literally Buddha. I am literally the Buddha.
Ah,
I am
interesting. Yeah.
just nothing that can phase me. And I actually even at home, because the reason I know
Mhm.
why at home I'm more triggered is because those are my attachments, my real attachments. Like people I
Mm.
love, so things I feel it more. But when I was vegetarian, they could say or do crazy stuff, and I'd be like, it's all right. I understand where you're coming from, you know.
Mm.
But
Mhm.
eating meat, uh, life keeps telling me this. Like, you want to go higher and do more, you got to go back to vegetarian. It's just very
Mhm.
inconvenient right now for me to do that, just because I don't. I'm making excuses.
But look, we're all just humans, and I
I
like that these
know.
kind of conversations they bring awareness. Look, now you have a level of awareness. Somebody who was listening probably also learned something from just that like information. And for me, this was an interesting thought I haven't really fully had. That yeah, if you put low vibrational or highly processed food in, your emotions, the way you digest it, all gets slowed down. It can even get stuck a bit, right, in your gut. That's why I think it's good to detox and do physical detox to also,
Mhm. It's
flush
just
stuff
it's
out.
the physical body, like you were talking about. This is about the
Exactly. Yeah, and
physical.
then it impacts again the emotional body. Or we see when we work on the spiritual body, we can get physical detox symptoms, right? So yeah,
We
a
just,
lot to think about.
we
to think.
just
I'm gonna detox now in the sauna, so I'm gonna sweat out any negative like stuck emotions. And I love it though that we have so many ways of making movement and change happening. It's not just one or two or one path. There's so many paths, and I feel like then there are actually no excuses to not try something, right? Because there's literally something out there for everybody.
yeah.
Mm.
I think that about does it. This was great. This It was talked about the four bodies, and there goes our Arcova session. I hope everybody has a
Yeah,
wonderful day or night
thank you.
wherever you are. Yanni, enjoy the sauna. Don't fall
Thank
asleep there.
you.
And
Yeah. Yeah, and I wish you a nice day and everybody who's here. And I'm looking forward to if you record something with mantras and with affirmations. I would love that. Just having something to work with and listening to them, that would be so nice.
That's the
Mm.
goal.
Yay.
All right. See you. All
Take
right.
care.
Bye.
Bye bye.